In the deep quiet of a September night, London slept, unaware of the disaster about to unfold. The moon cast a gentle light over the rooftops, and the River Thames flowed silently by. The air was still, the city peaceful, its people believing the worst was behind them after the recent plague. But beneath this calm, danger lurked. London was a city built of wood, thatch, and pitch, a tinderbox waiting for a spark. Houses leaned close together, their timber frames almost touching, creating a labyrinth of narrow lanes. At night, the city transformed, the noise faded, leaving only the occasional bark of a dog or chime of a bell. Londoners were resilient, but they had no idea how fragile their peace truly was. The materials that gave London its character were also its greatest weakness. All it needed was a single, careless moment to set it ablaze. That moment was fast approaching. Let us walk these quiet streets, just before the world turned upside down. We will witness the birth of a fire that would reshape a city's destiny. This is the story of the Great Fire of London, a story of destruction, survival, and rebirth. The stage was set. The final hours of old London were ticking away and no one heard the clock. The city's fate would soon be sealed by a single spark. In the darkness, the city waited, unaware. The Great Fire was about to begin. London's destiny was about to change forever. The peace of the night would soon be shattered, and history would remember what happened next. London in 1666 was a city built from wood, oak frames, thatched roofs, and walls coated in pitch. Most houses were timber-framed, packed tightly along narrow winding streets. Upper floors jutted out, nearly touching across the alleys, making it easy for fire to leap from building to building. The city was a tinderbox with warehouses full of oil, wine, and cloth stored in wooden barrels. There was no organized fire brigade, just leather buckets, axes, and long hooks. Water had to be carried by hand, a slow and often futile effort. Firefighting meant pulling down burning buildings to stop the flames, but this was rarely effective. London's population was booming, but its defenses against fire were medieval and inadequate. The city was unprepared for disaster. Wealth and poverty lived side by side, but all were equally vulnerable. The crowded, flammable city was an accident waiting to happen. Warehouses along the river brimmed with fuel for a future inferno. The narrow streets and wooden homes created perfect conditions for catastrophe. London was magnificent, sprawling, and dangerously fragile. The warning signs had been there for years. All it needed was a spark. The Great Fire began in a small bakery on Pudding Lane, owned by Thomas Farriner, the king's baker. On the night of September 1st, 1666, Farriner and his family went to bed, believing the oven was out. But a hidden ember remained, and in the early hours a spark ignited firewood. The flames spread quickly through the bakery, filled with flour and timber. The family awoke to choking smoke, their escape route blocked. They fled across the rooftops to safety. Their maid, too frightened to follow, became the fire's first victim. The fire consumed the bakery and leapt to neighboring houses, packed tightly together. Warehouses nearby, full of oil and tallow, fueled the growing blaze. What began as a small spark was now a monster spreading relentlessly. The alarm was raised, but the fire was already out of control. Flames raced down Pudding Lane, devouring everything in their path. The city's vulnerability was exposed in minutes. The fire's relentless march had begun. London's nightmare was underway. The city would never be the same. The fire spread with terrifying speed, driven by a strong easterly wind. Sparks flew across rooftops, igniting new blazes far ahead of the main fire. The inferno created its own weather, generating a firestorm that sucked in air and roared like thunder. Smoke and ash choked the city, turning day into night. The fire followed the path of flammable warehouses along the Thames, exploding barrels of oil and spirits. Even the lead on St. Paul's Cathedral melted, running in streams down the streets. For 4 days, the fire advanced relentlessly, consuming homes, churches, and landmarks. On Sunday it reached London Bridge. By Tuesday, it engulfed St. Paul's Cathedral. The city's heart was burning. People watched in horror as their world turned to cinders. The fire seemed unstoppable, a force of nature beyond control. The city's defenses were overwhelmed. The flames leapt from street to street, parish to parish. The destruction was total. Londoners could only flee or watch helplessly. The city was being consumed. The Great Fire raged on. 2 men stand out in the story of the fire: Thomas Farriner, the baker, and Samuel Pepys, the diarist. Fariner, whose bakery sparked the disaster, always denied responsibility, but history remembers him as the unwitting catalyst. Pepys, a naval administrator, documented the chaos in vivid detail. Woken by his servant, Pepys saw the fire spreading and realized the danger. He rushed to warn King Charles II, urging the demolition of houses to create fire breaks. The king listened, giving Pepys authority to command the Lord Mayor. Pepys's quick thinking shaped the city's response, even as officials hesitated. Throughout the fire, Pepys recorded scenes of panic, people piling belongings into boats, pigeons falling from burning rooftops, and his own efforts to save prized possessions. His diary captures the fear, desperation, and resilience of Londoners. Through Pepys's eyes, we witness the human side of the disaster. His words bring the Great Fire to life. Fariner and Pepys represent the ordinary and the extraordinary. Their stories are woven into the city's fate. The fire was both a personal and a collective tragedy. London's story is told through those who lived it. Early firefighting efforts were chaotic and ineffective. The Lord Mayor, Sir Thomas Bloodworth, underestimated the danger, delaying crucial decisions. Ordinary Londoners formed bucket chains, but the fire was too fierce for such efforts. The main hope was to create fire breaks by demolishing houses, but the fire moved too fast. King Charles II and his brother James took command, organizing demolition parties and encouraging exhausted firefighters. Soldiers used gunpowder to blow up rows of houses, finally slowing the fire's advance. The turning point came when the wind died down on September 5th. Massive fire breaks and stone walls halted the flames. The inferno was finally contained. The city was devastated, but the worst was over. The fight had been desperate, but Londoners endured. The fire's fury was spent. When the flames died, London was a smoking ruin. Over 13,000 houses and 87 churches, including St. Paul's Cathedral, were destroyed. The fire consumed more than 430 acres, over a square mile of the city. The official death toll was low, but many victims were never counted. The poor and elderly, unable to escape, perished in the flames. Around 100,000 people were left homeless, camping in fields outside the city. Fear and suspicion spread, with rumors blaming foreigners for the fire. Attacks on immigrants followed, deepening the city's trauma. The economic impact was devastating. Businesses ruined, trade crippled, fortunes lost. London's commercial heart was in ashes. The task of rebuilding seemed impossible. The city's spirit was tested as never before. London faced a future filled with uncertainty. The fire left scars deeper than the ruins, but hope would rise from the ashes. From the ashes, a new London had to rise. King Charles II wanted a grand modern city, but rebuilding had to be quick. Most people rebuilt on their old plots, so the medieval street plan remained. The Rebuilding Act of 1667 required new buildings to be made of brick or stone, not wood. Houses were designed to be more fire-resistant, with thicker walls and no overhanging upper floors. Roofs had to be covered with slate or tile. These changes transformed London's look and made it safer. Sir Christopher Wren was tasked with rebuilding the city's churches, including the new St. Paul's Cathedral. His masterpiece, with its iconic dome, became a symbol of London's rebirth. Wren's churches gave the city a new identity. The risk of another great fire was dramatically reduced. London was rebuilt to last. The city's resilience shone through. The Great Fire was a turning point for London. It destroyed much, but it also cleansed the city of disease-ridden slums. The plague never returned with the same force. The fire led to the birth of modern insurance and organized firefighting. The monument, designed by Wren and Hook, stands near Pudding Lane as a reminder. Its height matches the distance to the fire's origin. The lessons of 1666 shaped London's future: building codes, fire safety, and emergency services. The city was reborn in stone and brick. The fire's legacy is one of resilience and renewal. London endured, rebuilt, and became stronger. The Great Fire transformed the city forever.